I don't want to make this too formal. You know, this is going to be a short event. Thank you very much for sticking around. I hope you had a great lunch and certainly a good morning. My name is Som Naidu. I'm PVC Flexible Learning and Director of Center for Flexible Learning. And as I say, thank you for sticking around. Can I have your attention for an hour or so? First of all, I welcome and thank Pro-Chancellor Thompson for making himself present for this event. And I'll get to what he will be doing a bit later. DVC Cole and Jeffrey, our keynote speaker this morning, thank you for sticking around as well. What we want to do, we'll be doing in the next couple of minutes, is launching a few books, let's say. The first two books that I want to talk a little bit about are these two, and you will all get a copy of these two books. They are printed copies, and they will be online, of course, and available freely to all of you. Let me talk a little bit about these books. The first book looks a bit like this, and they're on the shelves there. As I said, you'll get a copy. It says 50 Years of Flexible Learning at the University of the South Pacific, 1968 to 2018. When I came here about a year ago, obviously there was a lot of talk about USP celebrating 50th anniversary, and some of us have been around here for that long. And I thought that being the director of Center for Flexible Learning, I thought we needed to get a serious publication out which would document the track record of this university, the history of flexible learning. What we call flexible learning now used to be called by a few different names. We started off as extension studies and external studies and extension services. Now, of course, with the proliferation of technology, we are calling it flexible learning because it permeates both our on-campus operations as well as our outreach operations. We thought that a book that records that achievement of 50 years of achievement and work in the area of distance education and extension studies would be necessary. So that's the first book, and I certainly could have done it myself with the help of other people, but didn't have the time, so I requested the help of a well-known friend of the University of the South Pacific, Professor Colin Letcham from Perth. And Colin was a friend of USP, had been to USP many times, had done a few books here on leadership and other kinds of things. And Colin was also well known to me. So we signed a little contract with him to do this book and sent him a lot of material, as you will see. And there's a lot of depth of detail here in terms of what USP has done and USP achievements. The VC, our current Vice Chancellor, often remarks that USP has got a very strong record, has been actually a leader of distance education and flexible learning in the region, including Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific and Southeast Asia. And I think it still is, and I won't say any of that has gone away. I think things have changed a little bit. Other partners have come into the scene as well. USP is still at the front of it all. And so this book captures all of that, and it's a good time to capture that and benchmark it so that it can become a reference for the future, and also records the past, as we were just saying a while ago. Now, the other book, which is the smaller book, and it's intentionally smaller because the people who wrote it wanted to keep it smaller so that it can be read in the palm of a hand, and anywhere, anytime. And this is more a collection of stories, of experiences of students and faculty and all kinds of people, including students, as I said, academic staff and administrative staff, who have been through some experience of flexible learning. So that's why it's called Flexible Learning Footprints. And It's been edited by Val Hazelman, who has been a USP staff member for a very long time, and a group of people supporting him, including Ala, Eroni, Athol, Flora, Margarita, Sarah, and Basiti, who have put this book together. This is a very interesting read. It's a very easy read, basically telling people's personal stories and experiences, and they're short and simple to read. As I said, you can read them not in your shower, but in your bath probably, or while you're sitting on the bus or something like that. This is the most substantial book, more academic, and carries a lot of detail and supported by documentation and literature. So these are the two printed books that we are going to be launching, and the Pro-Chancellor is going to be launching. But before I do that, I just want to make another announcement. Well, not so much an announcement, but acknowledgement that Colin Letcham passed away on the 3rd of July. Very, very unexpectedly. Colin was a healthy man. I mean, I've known Colin for a very long time. That's Colin Letcham, if you don't know him. I think I was talking to him on that Friday night, about something else that we were going to do in Germany in a couple of weeks' time. And then I heard from a friend of his in the UK that Colin had had a stroke, I think on Saturday night. And he never recovered from that. And some might argue that it was so bad that he passed away on Tuesday. So he didn't suffer all that much. And if Marion, his wife, is listening to us, we are acknowledging Colin's work. And thank you very much, Marion, because this is being streamed live, as I said, as we know. I just want to read a short few words on Colin and Colin's background in memory of Colin, and we have obviously acknowledged the book in his name. Colin was born in the UK, and after his initial schooling in the UK, he worked in London and other parts of the UK, including Ireland. Northern Ireland, and after all of that, I think he joined the army and then worked in London, and then after that he came to Australia in 1982 and accepted a position at what was then called the Western Australian Institute of Technology, now called Curtin University. And Colin was head of the Educational Media Centre and head of the teaching learning group there. So he had the same kind of pedigree as people like myself and various other people in this place have. He retired from that position and then continued to do. Colin never stopped working. He continued to work in Japan, Barbados, South Korea, and Canada, and various other parts of the world, including doing the kinds of things. And as some of you will know, editor of a journal called Distance Education. Colin was my associate editor for a very long time. A big loss for us. Colin is survived by Marion, of course, and his children who live in Perth. He's a lovely man, a mentor, and we pay respects to him on this occasion. So those are the two printed books that we are launching today. And another little story that I have to relate to you has to do with open textbooks. One of the other things that happened when I came here about a year ago, there's a lot of talk about open educational resources and open textbooks or e-textbooks for various reasons. The costs of educational resources in this region is very high. So in order to minimize that or deal with that, the university is interested in developing open textbooks, which are not only freely available, free of cost, but openly accessible in the sense that other people can use it, reuse it, change it, and modify it for their purposes. Now, USP is no stranger to that. As I was just saying a while ago, People who have been in this, at this university know about the history of flexible learning at this university. USP has been developing course material since it was established in the 1960s. I used to work here many, many years ago. And we have a track record of developing course books and readings, which we have been sending out to our students throughout the Pacific region. These are educational resources, but they're not open. So what the university has developed, and I've been helping the university develop, is a policy around open educational resources. So licensing material that are produced by USP staff that can be made easily and openly available to the students in the region. As part of that agenda, the university has been kind enough to fund people, to support people, to develop open textbooks. And I'm happy to announce today that we have been able to develop 8 textbooks which are now available in a matter of about 7 months, you might want to argue, and for very small amounts of money. And Deepak is going to show you those books a bit later when we come to that. They are all available on our repository and accessible to people within the region and outside the region. Deepak, do you want to go through the books now and show them where the books are located?
Thank you, PVC. Good afternoon, everyone. Warm welcome to Pro-Chancellor Thompson, Professors Jeffrey Crisp, and Professor Richard Cole. Welcome to the launch of the CFL books that have been written. In alluding to what, going back to what PVC has said earlier, so in 2017, USP the SMT made available $132,000 as part of the OER grant to make available to staff to engage in open educational resources. So as part of the grant, we had 4 categories in which staff were funded to do various activities within the scope of OER. So we ended up having 24 projects, and of the 24, we have 10 open textbooks projects. So of the 10, we've got 8 that we are launching today. One of the other textbook is to be published in an open access journal, while the other one is soon to finish, hopefully by the end of next week. So in terms of the 8 textbooks that have been written, before that, in March 2018, as part of the Open Education Week, we launched the Open Educational Repository at USP, and this is where the books will be hosted, and that is accessible to anyone from outside and also from within USP. So in terms of accessing the books, people could go to the Open Educational website, and there's a tab called OER Grants, and all the books that have been developed is linked through this particular page. So the first book that was written was by Ms. Shimal Prasad. Shimal is a facilitator in the College of Business, Tourism, and Hospitality, PECTE, and she wrote a book on financial reporting for non-reporting entity. Now, in terms of Pacific TAFE, they are a skills-based institute, and what they found was that the commercial textbooks that are available do not serve the purposes. So what they have built on is a whole lot of experience, and they have put that together and come up with that a text that really suits their needs, so especially for the industry. Ms. Parijata Moava, also a facilitator in PECTE, she wrote a book on events operation. And again, because it's a skill-based unit, they found that the commercial textbooks were not suited in terms of what they were really looking for. The third text was written by a former staff of USP, Dr. Delaney, and he wrote a book on Pacific C++, which is used in one of the computing courses at 100 level. And what he found was that some of the textbooks that have been written are not contextualized to the Pacific. So he initially, when he joined USP, he found it difficult to relate to the staff, to the students in terms of examples. So he tweaked one of the, so the book that he's adopted is already available as part of the OER, and then he tweaked that book to actually suit the needs of his students and contextualize it more so that they were able to relate to it. The fourth book is written by Dr. Roop Singh. He's a senior lecturer in economics in FBE. And his book is titled Macroeconomic Analysis, and will be used in one of his third year courses. Mr. Dinesh Kumar from SIMS, an assistant lecturer, has written a book for information systems for his I.S. 1 to 2 course. And that book is based on one of the programming languages that is taught as part of the curriculum. And together with the text, he's also written a lab manual. One of the recipients of the faculty awards today, Professor Anand Chand, has also written a book on industrial relation theory and policies for one of his courses. And again, his rationale was that it's difficult to find that one book that really covers all aspects of what is to be taught in his course. So what he has done is that he's drawn upon materials that are available openly and then embedded them as part of his one course, one textbook. Dr. Dinesh Rao has also written a book on, also from SIMS, has written a book on basic statistics. And again, it's to be used in one of the 100-level statistics courses that is taught at USP. And lastly, Dr. M.J. Khan, he has also written a book on statistics to be used in another course with a different focus, which is ST 131. And all of these courses for the statistics have a particular focus on the Pacific in terms of contextualized examples so that people are able to relate better. While we say that they have commercial textbook that does the job, but for us, they have identified that the examples do not really work for them. And so what they have done is that they have made examples something that the students can really relate to. The other book that I had mentioned as part of the project, which is soon to be published as part of an open access journal, is a book that is been worked on by Dr. Singh from Vanuatu. So they're looking at a School of Law guidebook that will be published as part of an open access journal. So those are the 8 books, and again, these are available through the Open Educational website and also through the OER repository that we have at USP. Thank you.
This is the page where you're going to find all the books. These are the 2 books that I was talking about. Please look for them on the left-hand side there. There's PDF downloadable. Go back to that page, please. The other textbooks that Deepak was talking about are there. Now, I must thank Deepak for leading the charge in relation to these books. As I was saying, when I came here about a year ago, there was nothing happening in that area. So we designated Deepak's role as our open education design architect, and his agenda is to develop the architecture for open education here and further it in terms of not just the production of open textbooks, but the revision of courses using open educational resources and the development of courses only by open educational resources, all in the name of making education more accessible and available throughout the region, especially for students who are unable to access resources throughout the region. As we were saying, technology is an essential part of this, but we are assured that technology, including network technology, is going to improve in the region, and that makes life much more easier, a lot more easier for our students to access high-quality education, including those from Australia, New Zealand, and other parts of the world. So those are the 8 open textbooks, and they will grow, obviously, with the support of the university, the Vice Chancellor and other people, and the printed books. But the printed books, I think, are going to set a benchmark, a watershed in terms of where we came from and where we're going. As the Vice Chancellor often reminds us that the people who set up, the representatives of the governments of UK, Australia, New Zealand, who set up the University of the South Pacific were very visionary. They imagined a university that was going to be present in the homes and the villages, as the VC keeps reminding us, and of the region and of the communities of the region. And it's a challenge that USP has been meeting, admirably in so many ways. And I think these two books document that effort, an effort of the people who have been part of that enterprise, many who are no longer at USP, and I take this opportunity to acknowledge that, and the work of a whole lot of people, not just the authors of this book, or these books, or the editors of these books, but people, and if I lose some names out, please do not deride me for that. Particularly, I would like to mention the work of our multimedia development team. Javed Yusuf, wherever he is, did a lot of work in pulling these things together, communicating with people here and abroad. Serema Lazarusa, who did the design work. I know you guys will all have some experience of producing books, collecting information and pictures and color and typesetting. They take a lot of work. But this work has been achieved in the last 6 or 7 months, and it's a testament to the ability of people here. There's some really great people, and I've enjoyed working with all of them in trying to put these two books together. And I hope you're going to have some time to browse through them and talk to some of the people who are here, who have been part of these publications, and take your time to go through them a bit later at your own leisure. So enough said about those two books till you want to get your hands on them and have a look at them. I would like to now invite the Pro-Chancellor to say a few words on this matter and launch these books officially. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Sam, for giving me this opportunity, which I don't often get in the academic side of the university. As you know, I am on the council of the university, and we consider fairly dry sort of things, nothing as exciting as what we've been hearing this afternoon. But it is a fascinating story, because particularly for those of us from my generation, I went to university in the 1950s. And so it's a long way from there to where universities are today. The technology that is available has transformed how universities conduct their business, how learning and teaching is being conducted. And there are changes still on the horizon. I'm told that when 5G comes into the mainstream in a couple of years' time, that this will again revolutionize how one can interact and intercommunicate, and all of the things that even today is the standard that one deals with in institutions like universities is going to go transform even further. So those of us who've seen the changes that have taken place from, as I said, the 1950s when I went to university and since then, and the changes that have happened since the internet became available and computers became available, which wasn't so long ago, and the exponential growth that is taking place in how these technologies are affecting everything in the world today, not just education, but all of life is becoming affected and impacted, not always for the good. So it's refreshing that we can have these books being produced to document what has gone in the past. And really it is quite amazing and something to marvel at, how much in fact has changed. But it is a means of recording where we've come from and to record those who have had a contribution to getting us to where we are today. So I'd like to congratulate Som and his team for taking the initiative, for doing this, and also for all of those who've contributed to the publications that are being launched today. I have skimmed through some of it, and it never ceases to amaze me as I come into contact with this sort of information, just how much of a dinosaur maybe that I have, or that I am, having come from a very much earlier generation and who studied at universities at a time when things were totally different. I was listening to a BBC program this morning where an American doctor was complaining that in the United States, teaching of medicine has become completely revolutionized, where very few students are actually coming to the formal lecture, and they're getting their education through all sorts of other means. And they'll do their research and do most of their work online, and they will come to the lecture or to the classroom to do their practicals, not to do their main learning. And they can't get their practicals any other way. And I suppose this is going to be the standard approach also, that all the material that we will use to inform ourselves will be done through online means and mechanisms, and that we'll get together physically for enhancing, I suppose, the interpersonal experience to round out how we learn things. So just on those few words, again, congratulating Som and his team from taking this initiative, thanking those who have contributed to producing this, and looking forward to even more such publications in the future, so that we can keep a footprint of what the journey is that we have come, and be able to inform us when we begin to forget some of the early beginnings of how these, not even the early beginnings, but the journey that this process has used in getting to us to where we are. So on that, if I can then formally launch these books, 10 books, the two that were noted earlier and the others that have come, and look forward to the others that will be joining the library, the online library that this will bring. So, thank you.
What happens normally in a book launch? You know, people gather around, talk to the authors, have a look at a book, have a look at the books, and have a drink or two. So that's what we are going to do. Unfortunately, as I was just saying, not all the authors are here. In particular, Colin Latcham himself is not here. But I hope we can use the rest of the time to have a look at the books that are going to be available to you. Flip through it, have a bit of a discussion. Just before I do that, before I let you go, to do that, I just want to make sure that I thank everybody. DVC Call in particular for supporting this initiative. Without his authorization, we wouldn't have been able to do any of this. And he very kindly and swiftly contributed the foreword to the Footprints book. And I'm not going to read his words. You can read them by yourselves. But thank you, Richard, for supporting this work and writing the foreword. The foreword for for this book was written by the Vice Chancellor. Again, it's a worthy read, and I would encourage you to have a look at that. I'm tempted to read bits and pieces of it, but I'm not going to do that. I think you can do it yourself. The last thing that I do want to say is I want to be sure that I thank everybody who's been able to put this together. In particular, I want to thank, and I am going to thank the people who have put this event together. A lot of people in CFL, the Center for Flexible Learning, including the educational and publishing team, Sarome, you know, my office team, Javed, Lassa, Serema, Clarence and Michael, who are recording these sessions. Thank you very much. And I'm not forgetting Karen, Yvonne from the DVC's office, and everybody else, if I've forgotten anybody who has helped put this event together. This is a first one. Let me mention also that there's another book that is coming out that the Pro-Chancellor's Office, the 50th anniversary office, is producing. And there will be some mention of USP's track record on distance education and flexible learning there as well. And that, I'm told by the Pro-Chancellor, is coming out on the 8th, 9th of October. So all these books are coming out at a good time, and it's a good year for the university. So thank you for coming today. Now, can I invite you to have a look at the books and stick around for a little bit and have a bit of a conversation. Naka. Are we done?
I'm also requesting the authors of the OER textbooks, if you are around, please, if you could come to the front for a group photo as well. Thank you. And also not forgetting the authors for the footprints, those who have contributed chapters to the book. Please, if you could come, if you are around, please, if you could come to the front so that we could have a photo session with everyone. Thank you.